Thank you, Mrs. Brady, for that very gracious introduction, and thank you to the Sodexo Foundation for allowing me to speak tonight. I'd like to open my remarks with a phrase most of us have heard before. They are just as afraid of you as you are of them. This saying typically refers to a life or death encounter with a terrifying creature in an unfamiliar environment. Granted, said terrifying creature is usually a mountain lion or a bear, but I think the analogy stands. After all, there are few more petrifying organisms on planet Earth than the American adolescent. We're an intimidating demographic. We just are. But just because we can be intimidating, irrational, and occasionally infuriating, doesn't mean we can't also be invigorating, industrious, and inspirational too. The rewards from working with young people can be phenomenal, and even tonight I'm joined by 4 student leaders who personify the potential of our peers. We can do incredible things if we're given the right opportunities. I know you know this. I also know you might just not be sure how to make it happen. This speech is adopted from 6 suggestions for working with students, a resource I developed with my business partner after she and I spoke at several conferences and found ourselves surrounded by adults after every presentation, each asking the same questions about how to work with teenagers. No matter what sector these grown-ups worked in, nonprofit, corporate, governmental, they all had the same desire to work with and general fear of teenagers. I am only one teenager, so I can't speak for us all. But perhaps I can give you at least a few ideas on how to engage the young people in your community. So the first thing I tell anyone that asks me how to work with youth is don't think of us as the lost generation. We might be part of a group, but that doesn't mean we personify it. Give us a chance to prove to you that we're more than our selfies suggest. Don't box us into a stereotype. If you do, you're likely to get the same response. You don't actually need fluency in Facebook or a total understanding of Twitter to speak with us. Truth be told, I don't actually understand Twitter. It's okay. Not every teenager, thank you for whoever's understanding my struggles. Not every teenager is going to personify that tech-savvy, self-involved persona, and that's okay. We're all people just like you. It's all right. The second thing I tell adults who ask me, how do I work with you, is that the wheel already exists, so stop trying to reinvent it. You don't need to invent new groups of youth. You don't have to pull teenagers out of the air. There are tons of groups that already exist: sports teams, youth groups, student council, National Honor Society, Key Club, FFA, 4-H. There are dozens of organizations where service is a key component to what they do. These kids already care. They already want to do something. So give them something to do. Number 3, let go of the reins. I know, that's kind of hard if you're going to be handing the reins to someone who can't actually drive a car. It's fair point. But if you let us brainstorm and make key decisions instead of simply giving directions, we feel more invested and attached to the project. Being involved in decision-making makes us feel accountable for the outcome, and that's a big deal. The analogy I use when I talk to adults who work in the business world, you get 2 tasks from your supervisor, boss, whomever. One is follow these directions, do this, A, B, and C, then you're done. The other is here's a problem, how do I solve it? Which task are you going to enjoy more? Probably the second, right? In this regard, at least, we're just like you. If we feel like we're responsible for the outcome of a project, that our name is going to be on it, and therefore it's got to be good, it's going to be good. Number 4 ties into number 3. Be ready to run with whatever we've got. We might have a completely off-the-wall idea on how to solve a problem. Short of anything likely to start a fire and/or get you fired, just roll with it. It might seem impossible or improbable to you, but that's how we get every new invention ever. Without new ideas, the world gets nowhere, and if we have input, like I said, we take ownership. Number 5, build up our confidence. The idea that American teenagers need help feeling good about themselves is kind of shocking, right? I mean, let's be honest. Actually, a lot of us assume that we can't make a difference because we're told we're too young all the time to drive, to date, to do a lot of the things we'd really like to do. Many of us assume service is just another thing that will come in time because we're too young to understand. We're not. Tell us so. We'll appreciate your vote of confidence. The last thing I tell adults who ask me how to work with teenagers is to remember and sympathize. One day we will be in your shoes, and we're going to remember some of the atrocious things that came out of our mouths, and we're gonna feel awful. And we're gonna wanna find you and apologize. But right now, you're the only one in the room who has the benefit of seeing the situation through the other's eyes. Recall what it was like to be us. Think back to those repressed high school and middle school memories. Think of all that awkward, and do your best to sympathize. One day, we're gonna thank you for it. All of these tips apply to students and young people back in your community, whether you live somewhere like here in DC or somewhere like my rural hometown in Iowa. No matter where you live, you can make these things work, and you don't have to wait to go home to start. You've received a tote bag tonight. It should be attached to the back of your chair. And this tote bag is to help you work with young people. Take the bag off the chair, gather your closest young friends and family, and fill it with food. Together, bring it to your local food bank. If you don't know where that is, ask the internet. It's your friend. Donate a little time and a few food items, and then pay the good feeling forward. Give the tote bag to someone you know, someone with a daughter or a nephew or a teacher who could use it with his or her students. Keep donating food and passing on the tote bag, and before you know it, you've helped feed more than those in immediate need. You'll be feeding a movement and fostering a moment with the young people in your lives, and no one needs to be afraid of that. Thank you.
Say what you want to say.